Hello and welcome to another Coffee with Colm, and thanks very much for tuning in. I started my career in the cafe business completely by accident. I wanted to be a school teacher where the holidays are long and the hours are short. I always say the man upstairs had a completely different view, and he threw me into the hospitality industry where it's the exact opposite, in fact, long hours and short holidays. But anyway, such is life. So when I was learning my trade in those early days, I made some mistakes, and one of the mistakes that I made early on, it's quite embarrassing to tell even today, but I'm going to share it with you. I was in the self-service cafe industry, and that's where you pick up a tray and you run it around a rail and you pick stuff off a counter or get served hot food or get served a cup of tea or whatever, and you eventually get to the cash desk to pay, and that's where I was situated. I'm sitting there at the cash desk trying to be all professional, and this lady arrived around with a tray that probably had a tea on it and a scone, and she was pushing a buggy and had a newborn in it. And I looked at the tray and I noticed there was a baby's bottle 3/4 full of milk. So I simply asked her, "Madam, is that your own milk?" And her horrified look told me that I'd made a big mistake. Now, I wasn't being completely naive. I was trying to figure out whether I should charge her for a glass of milk, because we would, as an organisation, have oftentimes poured a glass of milk into a baby's bottle to allow the mother feed the child. So I was just trying to verify whether or not I should charge her for the milk. I wasn't specifically asking her a very personal question, but it sounded wrong. Anyway, I made that mistake, and that's the type of mistake that we all make as we navigate those early years in our careers. Moving on from that mistake, I finally realised I was working for a very professional organisation that took customer care to the nth degree, took real pride in its customer care. So you know the score. A typical self-service cafe is where you pick up a tray, you run it around a rail, you pick stuff off it, you get to the cash register, and then you shuffle off and find your own seat. That needed to change. And so what they did was they carried the customer's tray. Picked up the customer's tray, said, "Good morning, madam. Good afternoon, sir. May I help you find a table?" And of course that was music to the customer's ears. It was over delivering on the promise. The promise of a self-service cafe experience was, back in the day at least, all too often mediocre. So the whole idea was that you'd come in, you'd collect your tray, and you were expecting to have to carry your own tray to the table, and we went above and beyond for no extra pay, no extra charge, and we carried the customer's tray to the table. And it afforded us a unique competitive advantage. Not only did we create noise in the marketplace and people began to speak of us, and we began to do tremendous business because people kept coming back to us and people kept referring their friends to us, it also gave us a unique business advantage in that we were able to actually optimize the seating in our cafe. So at those busy times, and you know this to be true, we tend in situations like that to sit on our own, and typically we would go and sit at a table, and if we were sitting, you or I, on our own at a table, even though there were 4 seats there, it's rare enough that somebody else would join us at the same table. You'd end up with singles dotted all over the cafe. By us carrying the customer's tray to the table, not only did we over-deliver on the promise of the experience, we also were able to go along and ask on behalf of somebody else, "Excuse me, sir, would you mind if somebody joined you at this table?" Of course, the answer is always no. So we, as an organisation, managed to optimise the seating layout during those busy times. It was tremendously beneficial to us from a business perspective. So what's this all about? Well, it's about you and I asking ourselves, how are we going to compete differently into the future? We're in the 21st century, we're in the internet age. However, it's my contention that all business is all about people. Somebody somewhere has to buy your product, whether they consume it or not. Somebody somewhere has to buy your product or buy your service. And the question really is, what's setting you apart from the competition out there? And I believe that over-delivering on the promise is one way that you and I can set ourselves apart. You and I operate in very crowded marketplaces, I'm sure. And the question we've got to consistently ask ourselves is, how do we separate ourselves from the herd? How do we stand out from the crowd? How do we stand head and shoulders above the competition so that we create noise in the marketplace so that people talk about us and refer to us and come back to us and bring their friends to us? That's the challenge. And I'm going to put it out there for you and I to consider, that applying a unique customer care approach to your business can give you that unique advantage that's going to set you, nudge you ahead of the competition and allow you to do more business and allow you to do more profitable business. So the question I have for you, and I'm going to leave you with today, is what do you do in your business that could be considered carrying the customer's tray? What do you do in your business that could be considered you over delivering on the promise that you've made? Because if you do that, and if you do it consistently, and if you build it into the fabric of your business, they will talk about you, noise will be created, people will come back to you, and people will refer people to you. I wish you well. And thank you very much for joining me for this week's Coffee with Colm. I hope, as ever, and trust that you got something from it. I'd ask that you would apply it into your thinking for the next week and see where it leads you. And then most importantly, please come back next week and let's share another coffee together. Meantime, get some rest, get some good coffee, get ready for the week ahead, and we'll talk to you next week. Have a good one. Really love my coffee. Take care. Bye for now.